The moment for a different choice is already gone. All that's left is the dangerous hope that this was the right one. Now the path is set and there's no stepping off. Seol-Hwi struggled with the decision. It wasn't a difficult situation, but it did involve her. His choice would change his relationship with Seo Ryeong. Favor. Should I wait a little longer? It seemed like intervening right this instant wouldn't help him much. His favorability wouldn't go up if he pretended not to see it, but he'd get a display of Seo Ryeong's martial arts skills. It'd be helpful if they got a chance to team up for a mission in the future. The rest happened quickly. The man named Caillou suddenly accelerated, rapidly closing the distance between himself and Seo Ryeong. She seemed to have expected this, but it looked like she was too late. She didn't have time to draw her sword. But then her hand waved, sending a throwing blade at the man. Caillou wasn't shabby enough to die from that, nor did it really slow him down. However, Seol-Hwi wasn't worried. That wasn't a simple throwing blade. It was a rope blade. The attached cord would allow Seo Ryeong to retrieve the blade, thus covering the disadvantages of a throwing weapon. As expected, Seo Ryeong yanked the rope back, catching Caillou by surprise. He managed to spin around and slice the rope, but that bought Seo Ryeong the time she needed to draw her sword and move to attack. Intervene? Keep watching. Pretend to not see how would you like to increase favorability? Seol-Hwi considered the sudden pop-up. Well, I need to watch for a little longer. From what he'd seen so far, Seol-Hwi couldn't judge Caillou's skills. And since he couldn't see their level, it wasn't really a fight, so he picked the same option as before. Swords clashed, twice. Surprisingly, Caillou was on the back foot and Seo Ryeong was not about to stop. A faint green chi coated her sword, suggesting that she was about to use the unified light demonic martial arts. The unified light demonic martial arts drew no distinction between high and low. It followed the opponent's every move and gave no second chances. Any opening would be punished without allowing the opponent a chance to counter. Looks good. Seol-Hwi was enjoying himself. Seo Ryeong's skills were a lot better than expected, especially because her swordsmanship style was different from what he expected. It took a swordsman to understand swordsmanship. Seol-Hwi couldn't help but wonder how strong he was now. He wasn't quite sure how strong Seo Ryeong was, but she was fighting Caillou. Even as the least skilled of his four subordinates, Seol-Hwi was surprised to see that she had the upper hand. It didn't even look like she was giving it her all. Ugh! Caillou's thighs were cut by Seo Ryeong's sharp blade and his form collapsed. Seo Ryeong kicked him over and scowled. What are you trying to do? Shouldn't you people be a little stronger? Ugh! The man clutched his thigh and groaned but didn't reply. No, that wasn't it. Intervene, keep watching, pretend to not see how would you like to increase favorability. This time, the question made Seol-Hwi antsy. It was a strange situation. What should I do? What's happening? He didn't know if Caillou was faking it or not. The leg wound would definitely maim him. Did he have another plan then? The man he called Kang was nowhere to be found. 4. 3. Seol-Hwi thought about it a little more and decided, well, if there's a problem, it'll ask me again. Whoa! Ha! Caillou leaped at Seo Ryeong, somehow overcoming his crippled legs. She was battered on her neck, chest, and stomach by a flurry of blows and collapsed onto the ground. And just then, Seol-Hwi saw his skills. Caillou Yon Private Guard's 4th member, Health. 3.32 million internal energy, 3.35 million combat power, 2.24 million, plus 4% in melee. Kang Seok Private Guard's 3rd member, Health. 2.1 million internal energy, 2.3 million combat power, 2.4 million. This is insane. Seo Ryeong Command Unit 4th member, Health. 360,000 internal energy, 1.22 million combat power, 1.12 million, plus speculation. Her stats weren't even half of theirs. Seo Ryeong reeled back from the one-sided assault, but her opponent had a long reach. His strong form and clean movements made it clear that his skills were amazing, and he obviously wasn't pulling his punches. Why? Why isn't it showing up? He couldn't afford to keep watching. He couldn't watch the woman who smiled at him be ruined. Unfortunately, the system did not oblige. Ugh! In the end, Seo Ryeong was knocked over without a fight. I'm going to make it hurt. Of course your body is weak at your level. This time, Caillou used internal energy. Seo Ryeong could no longer resist. All she could do was clutch her chest. How can I move? Caillou sneered. There's something called the Great Shift Method. It changed the location of your blood points. We're nothing like your unit. Seo Ryeong managed to tamp down the pain and control her breathing. You think the captain is going to ignore this? You're the one who hurt our men to begin with. Even the hidden truth captain won't intervene in these matters unless I kill you. Indeed, captains were not interested in inter-unit conflicts short of a murder. That was why they could get away with this. The command unit captain won't leave you alone. Seol-Hwi's heart shook. This was the first time anyone had relied on his help. What was that? Ha. All of them laughed uproariously. You must be talking about the one the earth demon brought. Kang Seok walked up to her. But did you know, he used to do chores in the library? Seo Ryeong's eyes widened. Her expression held shock but also wonder and confusion. Look here, your captain is an asshole. He was and he still is. There's nothing he can do. Kang Seok gently stroked her hair. You should come work for us. Then a glob of sticky saliva splashed onto his fingers. Even if you lock me in a room where I can't see the sky, I'll never work for you. Why, you bitch? Seo Ryeong didn't even blink. You spoke well. Did you say the captain won't intervene unless I die? What? You're done, Seo Ryeong smirked. Kang Seok grabbed her jaw, knowing she was trying to commit suicide. Seo Ryeong was perplexed. She has a small poison capsule attached to her molars, but nothing happened when she bit down. As expected, Kyo-yeon said. Just in case I hit the blood points in your face. That was why he'd hit her neck. What a shame. A smile danced on Kyo-yeon's lips. I've been holding back for too long. Let's start by cutting off one of your hands. Kang Seok grabbed Seo Ryeong by her hair. Seo Ryeong screamed in pain. Intervene. What? Who are you? Seol-Hwi had appeared only 2 feet away, startling them. Captain. It felt to Seol-Hwi that even though her voice trembled, it hadn't lost its dignity. It made him angry. Ha! The weak were being trampled. After dying over and over again, Seol-Hwi only despised it more. What little of his rationality hadn't been swallowed by his anger wasn't interested in negotiating. Nice weather, he spat. Feels good. The system was like a chance and a curse. It honestly felt like it was making fun of him right now. Hey, who are you? Answer us, fool. Seol-Hwi checked to make sure he had his tiger mask on before he spoke. One of you will die here. I plan on keeping the other one alive. Why? No reason in particular, I just thought it would be fun to make one of you grovel under me. He didn't get a reply, but Seol-Hwi knew what they had to be thinking as they eyed him. They had the advantage in this fight, but if he could sneak up on them like that, they had to be a bit wary of him. But since Seol-Hwi wasn't wearing a hidden truth uniform, they'd think he's an outsider. Combat mode. Seol chose turn-based mode for the enemy's safety, not his own good. If he used simulation mode, he'd kill them before he had the chance to make them hurt. Seol-Hwi Vice Captain of the Hidden Truth Corps, Health. 710,000 internal energy, 1.21 million coins, 2 Grandmaster combat power, 5.91 million. He caught Kyo-yeon stepping towards him before the window appeared. Warning. Kyo-yeon has found a weakness in Seol-Hwi. How will you respond? Counterattack? Defend? Run away? Seol-Hwi wasn't worried at all, just a little annoyed. Kyo-yeon sprung towards him. Seol-Hwi saw it and didn't hesitate. He thought it was a good chance to practice the synergy between the peak flourishing demonic martial arts and the fiery bare-handed demonic martial arts. Fortunately, he was fast enough to pull it off. Seol-Hwi's fist collided with Kyo-yeon's with a deafening roar. The flames on Seol-Hwi's hand hungrily spread to Kyo-yeon's body. Kyo-yeon grabbed his broken hand and screamed. The tongues of flame biting at his body made it even worse, as the windows confirmed. Critical hit. Inflicted 1.8 million damage to Kyo-yeon. Kyo-yeon Private Guard's 4th member, Health. 1.52 million / 3.32 million. Down arrow, 1.8 million. The difference was huge. His health, which was originally higher than Seol-Hwi's, had dropped drastically. The fact that he knocked down Kyo-yeon in one hit was, frankly, surprising, even knowing the difference in their combat power. Seol-Hwi wasn't done, though. Found a weakness in Kyo-yeon. How would you like to respond? Attack. Use martial arts. Use toolbox. Approach the opponent Ak. As soon as Seol-Hwi saw Kyo-yeon, he immediately popped him with his fist. It wasn't a technique, just a simple punch, but it sent internal energy crashing into Kyo-yeon. Kyo-yeon took it right in the face and went bouncing back, tumbling head over heels through the air. Critical hit. Inflicted major damage to Kyo-yeon. Kyo-yeon Private Guard's 4th member, Health. 530,000 / 3.32 million. Down arrow, 990,000. The damage was stacking up. Kyu-yon flopped over unconscious and slack-jawed. Don't play dead. Seol-Hwi walked over and grabbed him by the hair. I'm not done with you. Warning, Kang Seok found a weakness in Seol-Hwi. How will you respond? Seol-Hwi wasn't shocked. Of course, the other man would attempt a surprise attack. Counterattack? Defend? Run away. Seol-Hwi had a sudden bright idea. There was still a bit of time before Kang Seok reached him, and now that he decided to defend instead of attack, Kang Seok struck perfectly. His sword stabbed deep, but not into the man with the tiger mask. Incredible. You went straight for your own comrade. What? Seol-Hwi was enjoying himself. It won't be easy to get out of this. This sword is all the proof people will need. Kang Seok's face was painted with shock and disbelief and a fleeting flash of fear. I said one of you would die, but I didn't say I'd do it with my own hands. You, Kang Seok didn't get to finish his sentence. A great opportunity, found a weakness in Kyu-yon. How would you like to respond? Attack. Use martial arts. Use toolbox. Approach the opponent he chose south, placing him right behind the enemy. I bet people call you an asshole all the time, right? Ack. Kang Seok swung around, but he was too slow. Seol-Hwi smacked him in the stomach, tipping him off balance. Seol-Hwi then punched him in the face, dodged gracefully around his sword, and then punched him in the face again. Seol-Hwi dodged around Kang Seok's blade again and hit his face a little harder. Kang Seok, Private Guard's third member, health. 2.98 million / 2.99 million, down arrow 10,000. The damage was minor, but Kang Seok backed away. Blood dripped down his nose, reminding him of the insult. You fucking bastard! Seol-Hwi didn't know if Kang Seok had a method of drawing out internal energy better than what Seol-Hwi knew, which was why Seol-Hwi was only using normal punches. So boring. Combat mode. He changed the combat mode because there was nothing else like it for dealing with the enemy. In the Hidden Truth Core, there was something known as the Hidden Blood Method. You could say it was a martial arts for hiding your blood, but it was really a technique for deceiving opponents for assassinations. As an assassination technique, it contained many methods for a one-shot kill. It was more than just a one-shot technique, though. 2 strikes, 3 strikes. It didn't matter how many it took, even if it cost the user their life afterwards. The reason why he was using the hidden blood method rather than the slaughtering method was because it was the most aggressive technique he had. Seol-Hwi drew his sword at the same time as he used the white light body demonic martial arts, releasing a white fog. It looked different. He was used to it being a mist, but this time it was a sea of fog. Kang Seok's attack collapsed. Here, he moved 2.5 steps to the left as Kang Seok's form broke. Seol-Hwi hit him on the head with the hilt of his sword and watched his opponent fall to the ground. Crack, blood splashed, crack, crack, bones broke, crack. The body collapsed as Seol-Hwi continued to hammer his fist down. Kang Seok, Private Guard third member, health. 2.89 million / 2.99 million, down arrow 10,000, 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 down arrow 10,000. Seol-Hwi kept beating. Kang Seok, Private Guard third member, health, 32,000 / 2.99 million. Kang Seok was unconscious. From now on, Seol-Hwi wasn't talking to Kang Seok. Seo Ryeong was standing next to him. I have much more to teach you. He lightly brushed off his hands and checked to make sure his mask was still there. So learn how to survive. Seol-Hwi turned away. He always wanted to see her, to talk to her, to be with her, but not now, strangely. Guilt, anger, sadness, his emotions were tangled. However, Seo Ryeong caught him as he tried to brush past her. Captain, she paused. I wanted to see you. Seol-Hwi's heart clenched from just a few words, but he didn't let it show. What are you saying? Seo Ryeong didn't answer. It seemed she just bowed as he walked away, but then she seemed to feel something and turned around. What did you say? What did I say? He hadn't said anything. But then his doubts vanished. Not because of her, but because of the window. 20% up arrow 66%. Favorability up arrow admiring, another new word. What's this? Kiss available. Hug available. Available, / / unavailable, / = number absolutely not available. Was this a chance? Or a curse? It was really messing with his feelings. The reason Seo Ryeong had turned around. The problem was what it was asking him to do. Kiss, available, kissing her out of the blue. How was that any different from the people who'd assaulted her just now? Hug, available, can't choose that either. It's not like he wasn't tempted to hold her, but she'd barely escaped from one emergency. What if she took it poorly and started hating him? Seol-Hwi was no madman. Wait, maybe this is it. Kiss, available. Hug, available. Available, / unavailable, / number, absolutely not available. The third option seemed fine. It seemed like the most dangerous option, so it was probably the least dangerous option. If the first option was a kiss and the second was a hug, then it followed that the third option would be milder than a hug. Seol-Hwi figured that it would be something like holding hands or flirting. But why are the fourth and fifth options unavailable? If they were less drastic than hugging and kissing, then why did it say they were unavailable? The absolutely not available made him very nervous. Why is this happening? 5-4. What was he supposed to choose now? He couldn't take the first option, so he had to go for the hug or, I can't hug her. Seol-Hwi watched Seo Ryeong's expression carefully, hoping he'd be able to figure out what he'd just said based on her reaction. Her body trembled and her eyes shrank smaller and smaller. What did you just say? He had no idea. Are you serious? What did he choose? Seo Ryeong walked right up to him and silently peered into his eyes. There has to be something. Seo Ryeong's slap spun his head around. She slapped him. What was that? How can you say such vulgar words? Her voice dripped with disgust. I'm very disappointed. Wait a minute. She turned away. What did I say? Seo Ryeong didn't turn around. He couldn't believe it. All the favorability he'd accumulated had disappeared. He was worse off than he started. I don't know. Despite his angry shouts, nothing changed. 66% down arrow, -10%. Admiring down arrow, uncomfortable, WH. What did I say? I don't know what I said. But the only response he got was more choices. Where would you like to go? Unit training room. All it gave him was a task for him to do. Now he had to teach them. How was he supposed to face her? It was so unfair. There should have been some indication of what he said to her. He wanted to skip time. But instead of the month passing in the blink of an eye, he was presented with two middle-aged men. Part 2. The private guard's captain appears when Seol-Hwi's vision cleared. He saw that the two men were accompanied by the fallen third and fourth members of the private guards. He followed their gaze and saw himself and Seo Ryeong 6 stories below them. Were they watching Seo Ryeong from here? You're late, Captain. I was about to go out when an unexpected person appeared. This man had a square face and a small stature. Bu Yong, vice captain of the private guards, health, 3.01 million internal energy, 2.4 million combat power, 4.9 million plus 7% for special skills. It isn't their fault. This man had a face full of knife scars. Bigun, captain of the private guards, health, 5.5 million internal energy, 4.2 million combat power, 6.37 million plus 12% when enraged, an expert. His health and internal energy, and most importantly his combat power, were extremely high, as expected of a captain. How pathetic. They can't even carry out their orders because they're intimidated, and on top of that we can't go out there because a stranger showed up out of nowhere. They were planning to come out. It didn't make sense to Seol-Hwi. That would mean they weren't trying to bully here, but why would they want to help her? For what? It's my mistake. I didn't think they'd be so stupid. If you would leave this to me. Seriously. We won't be able to convince her anymore. Now her talent just has to rot in that lousy unit. Now he knew. These men were trying to show Seo Ryeong that the command unit was incompetent so they could poach her into their own unit. Wouldn't it be better if there wasn't any evidence left over? Captain, Bu Yong looked shocked. You don't need to directly. I understand. Bu Yong withdrew, leaving Bigun alone to watch the man in the tiger mask disappear. But, Bigun whispered, I need to introduce myself properly. Seol-Hwi's vision brightened again as time began to tick again. Day 1, teach the Hidden Truth Squad's iconic demonic martial arts. Seol-Hwi was lucky. He didn't have to see Seo Ryeong's face because time skipped past it. Day 2, teach the Hidden Truth Squad's iconic demonic martial arts. Day 3, teach the Hidden Truth Squad's iconic demonic martial arts. The others' expressions became brighter and brighter, but Seo Ryeong's expression never changed. Well, time was passing and it wasn't as embarrassing as the first time. Day 30, teach the Hidden Truth Squad's iconic demonic martial arts. Day 31. Teach the Hidden Truth Squad's iconic demonic martial arts. All courses for the month have been completed. Yoram's favorability has increased by 5%. Xianxia's favorability has increased by 5%. Yang Jin's favorability has increased by 4%. Seo Ryeong's favorability has increased by 15%. Huh. Her number is the highest. The next window confirmed it. Yoram, 20% interested up arrow. Xianxiang, 21% interested up arrow. Yang Jin, 19% curious. Seo Ryeong, 5% curious up arrow. Suddenly, his vision dimmed again. What is this? Seol-Hwi found himself in the unit office. It was evening and the sky was full of stars. Normally, he'd wake up in his room after a month, so why was he here? I need to get home, quick. He leapt into the air and climbed up the wall, then onto a higher building, and then jumped off the roof. Come to think of it, it would be pretty embarrassing if the private guards caught him jumping on the walls. Wait! Seol-Hwi paused to look at the sparkling stars. It's been a long time. His life had been moving at a breakneck speed. He realized that he'd never had a chance to take a break between his struggles to live. These days, though, his life seemed different. He actually had time on his hands for once. A great crisis was surely coming soon, but what was the point in living such a hurried life? I ought to see things, play a little too, not trample people. Seol-Hwi could fight without constantly taking hits now. That was good, refreshing. I hope Seokdu is doing well. If he had to point to a good memory, going around with the innocent carpenter was one of them. The training was another. Next month, I'll skip teaching and do warrior training. One mission ate 2 of his lives. He might die for nothing, so he wanted to spend a month or so relaxing in the field doing normal training. I'll soak in warm water and relax my muscles. What are you doing here? He spun around. Seo Ryeong, why are you here? He didn't feel her presence until she spoke. The vice captain is the one who came here. I'm always here. Oh, he was lost in the moment and hadn't looked around, or rather he hadn't expected to find someone sitting on the roof. What's warrior training? Oh, that. Nothing. Huh. Seo Ryeong looked puzzled, but Seol-Hwi didn't care. He couldn't care something that shouldn't be here was butting in. Oh no. Available, kiss available, / unavailable. / number, absolutely not available, fucking window. The silence stretched for a while. Honestly, Seol-Hwi had never thought that silence would ever be a positive sign for him. However, this time it meant that Bigun couldn't immediately jump to a conclusion, despite watching Seol-Hwi kill the private guards with his own 2 eyes. The Hidden Truth Corps had many enemies. They always had to be wary. Who are you talking about? Bigun's confidence seemed to be crumbling. Seol-Hwi had lived for a long time, and he knew how to use his enemy's psyche against him. Who do you think it is? Seol-Hwi didn't actually care about the answer. He was more interested in the answers Bigun didn't tell him. Seol-Hwi had been a member of the Hidden Truth long enough to know how to pick out the suspicious points. If he was lucky, you're talking about the Supreme Pavilion Lord, aren't you? I see. What? Seol-Hwi reeled. He managed to keep it from showing on his face, but he couldn't calm down. That was the bastard who treated Seol-Hwi like a dog. He owed the Supreme Pavilion Lord several times over for driving him to his death. But he has no reason to move right now, Bigun said. Seol-Hwi examined Bigun intently. He had no idea what the other man was saying, but he was desperate to find something. He had to figure out what his opponent didn't know and capitalize on it. I don't know. Seol-Hwi raised his head. Despite not having the upper hand, he led the conversation with confidence. He may not be the most well-informed person in the sect, but he knew the Supreme Pavilion Lord better than anyone else. But I may know the secrets he's trying to hide. Bigun's eyebrows trembled ever so slightly, unable to hide his shock. The 2 men stared at each other for a long moment before Bigun's head dropped. Well, if we think about it, there are a lot of suspicious points. Someone wandered around with no affiliation with the Supreme Pavilion Lord, and then he became vice captain. And they say you're strong enough to be a grandmaster. All of our people are talented, but the ones who went up against you were fighting a losing battle. Bigun was confident. It took a lot of experience to throw insults without letting them rebut, after all. He was trying to make Seol-Hwi acknowledge that he was strong, as well as make him admit that he was the culprit. Seol-Hwi, however, was laughing inside. So petty. He'd heard clever little insults like this too many times in the Supreme Pavilion. This didn't even qualify as a provocation to him. You're right. He was in the Supreme Pavilion, but he's no defector. He never belonged to the man. Also, I'm not skilled enough to easily overpower people, but now that you say that... Seol-Hwi shook his head and peered at Bigun. How pathetic is it for you to lose two of your best but not be able to deal with the one spy? I heard that your men couldn't handle their lust when Seo Ryeong touched them. Is the entire private guard like this? What? You bastard! Bigun slammed his hand against the table. Killing intent rose clearly from his body. I can't let him push me here. Seol-Hwi was determined to remain tranquil despite Bigun's provocation. Besides which, Bigun couldn't even insult Seol-Hwi to his face, even though he was convinced that Seol-Hwi was the culprit. Bigun, captain of the private guards, health, 5.5 million internal energy, 4.2 million combat power, 6.37 million, plus 12% when enraged. He's got considerable combat power, but Seol-Hwi, vice captain of the Hidden Truth Corps, health, 710,000 internal energy, 1.21 million combat power, 5.91 million. Even so, Seol-Hwi didn't want to show that he was willing to fight. As his opponent would know, the one who attacked first is the one in trouble. If either one of them was injured or died, there would be severe punishments. Cheeky bastard! Bigun's voice rose and the air shuddered. I guess your tongue is the reason why the Earth Demon appointed you as vice captain. One day it's going to get cut short. He stomped away angrily. Phew. Seol-Hwi breathed a sigh of relief as he felt Bigun's killing intent fade into the distance. He didn't want to deal with such a direct confrontation like that again, even if he was prepared. Regardless of their strength, Bigun was his superior in terms of experience. Seol-Hwi had best be organized and ready. Let him go, call out to him. What? Why? This was hardly normal. If he was being given choices, he had to be missing something. Actually, that wasn't strictly true. Sometimes the system did things for no reason. Still, he had to make a choice. What do I choose? After much thought, he settled on the second choice. It wouldn't be bad to see what comes next. If he was lucky, he'd hear something about the Supreme Pavilion. Bigun turned around. What else is there to say? Seol-Hwi waited for the next choice to appear, but when it didn't, he became flustered. He turned to Bigun and,